In 2019, inside a humidity-controlled archive room in the basement of the Istanbul Archaeological Museum, a conservator named Elif Arslan was cataloging fragments of cuneiform tablets that had been sitting in storage crates since 1926. Most of them were routine, inventory lists, temple records, the names of livestock, and then she pulled out fragment IM7821, and everything changed. The tablet was smaller than a hardcover book. The clay was almost black with age, but the inscription was deep and deliberate, carved by someone who wanted this to last. When the partial translation came back, the supervising scholar at the museum reportedly went quiet for a very long time, because this was not a livestock list. This was a direct record of a divine council meeting, and the central figure speaking was Enlil. And what Enlil was saying was this: the humans needed to be destroyed, not punished, not corrected, destroyed, all of them. And the reason he gave was not the one the older texts had suggested. It was something much stranger, something that pointed not to human sin or human noise, but to human potential, and to something Enlil was afraid they were about to remember. If you are watching this and you have never subscribed to this channel, now is a very good moment. This is the kind of content we make here. We go where the mainstream does not. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and stay with me on this one, because we are just getting started. To understand what that tablet says and why it matters, you have to go back. Not just to Sumer, not just to ancient Mesopotamia. You have to go back to the original story, and the original story is not the one most people learned. The standard academic account of Sumerian religion goes something like this. The Sumerians worshipped a pantheon of gods. These gods were powerful but fallible. They argued, they made mistakes. They had politics and grudges like people do. Enlil was one of the most powerful among them. He was the lord of the air, the god of wind and storm, and he was not particularly fond of humanity. At some point in the mythological record, Enlil decided the humans were too loud, too chaotic, too much trouble, and he pushed for a flood to wipe them out. Enki, a more sympathetic god, warned a man named Utnapishtim, who built a boat and survived. The flood came, the flood passed, humanity continued. This is the academic version, but the academic version does not account for fragment IM77821, because IM77821 does not describe a god annoyed by noise. It describes a god who has run a calculation, and the calculation has come back with a result he considers unacceptable. The fragment is divided into 3 sections. Scholars working on the translation have named them provisionally the declaration, the accounting, and the instruction. We are going to go through all 3, and I want you to listen carefully, because what this tablet appears to describe is not a religious myth. It is a policy document. And the policy it describes is the deliberate termination of a species that was developing in a direction its creators had not authorized. Let me start at the beginning. Let me start with who Enlil actually was. In the Sumerian cosmological tradition, the great gods were known as the Anunnaki. This word has been translated variously as those who from heaven to earth came, as the royal blood of the heavens, and as the shining ones who descended. The Anunnaki were not spirits or metaphors. They were described in extremely concrete terms. They had vehicles. They had residences. They ate food and drank beer. They had internal disagreements resolved through council votes. They assigned tasks to lesser beings. They were organized. They were administrative. And they had created humanity for a specific reason. The texts are very clear on this. Humanity was created to perform labor. The Atrahasis epic, one of the oldest complete narratives in human history, written down around 1700 BCE on tablets copied from much older oral traditions, says this explicitly. The junior gods, the Igigi, had been doing the heavy work of maintaining the earth, digging canals, moving earth, extracting minerals. After centuries of this, the Igigi went on strike. They burned their tools and surrounded the residence of Enlil and demanded relief. The solution agreed upon in council was the creation of a new worker, a hybrid being, part divine clay from the Anunnaki themselves, and part the existing hominid that already lived on the earth. This hybrid was called the Lulu, the primitive worker, the one fashioned to bear the yoke. Enlil agreed to this plan. He participated in it. But something in the Atrahasis text and in related tablets suggests he was never entirely comfortable with the result. And IM 77821 tells us why. The declaration section opens with Enlil addressing the council. Scholars have been cautious about the translation of specific phrases, because several of the logograms used are either archaic forms or appear in combinations not seen in other tablets. But the general shape of what he is saying is this. He tells the council that he has completed a review. He has been watching the Lulu population across several generations, and he has observed a pattern of development that was not part of the original design parameters. That phrase alone deserves a pause. Original design parameters. This is not the language of mythology. This is not a god saying my children have displeased me. This is an administrator saying the product has exceeded its specifications. And the implications of that are enormous. What were the design parameters? The Lulu was supposed to be capable enough to follow instructions, strong enough to do physical labor, and limited enough not to challenge its creators. The Enuma Elish and related texts speak of the gods carefully controlling the degree of divine essence given to the new being. Too much, and the Lulu would be too aware. Too aware, and the purpose of the Lulu would be undermined. The workers were not supposed to become gods themselves. They were supposed to serve them, but something had gone wrong. Or, depending on your perspective, something had gone right. Enlil's declaration in IM 77821 describes 3 specific observations, 3 things he has noticed about the human population that alarmed him. The first is what the tablet calls the expansion of inner sight. The second is the coordination of forbidden memory, and the third is the approaching of the original threshold. These 3 phrases have sent scholars into serious debate because they do not map cleanly onto anything in the existing Sumerian mythological catalog. They are new, they are specific, and they are clearly the basis for what Enlil then proposes. Let me take each one in turn. The expansion of inner sight. In Sumerian, the phrase uses a compound that includes the logogram for eye combined with the logogram for the interior of a container, and the logogram for growth or increase. Some translators have rendered this as increasing inward vision. Others have suggested the second sight or interior knowing. What it appears to describe is the development of perceptual capacities that were not part of the original specification. Specifically,